Now we were looking at this example comparing simple interest to compound interest, and we have these overall balances down here in this table. So let's talk about where these balances came from. The general compounding formula will have pretty much all the same variables that was used under simple interest, but now the new thing is because interest is now earned at regular intervals, the intervals are going to be taken into account in the formula. Now over here in this table, these are going to be the time periods that you could earn your interest. So interest could be earned annually, semi-annually, quarterly, monthly, weekly, or daily. Depending on when the interest is earned, that will depend on the value of n that we are going to use inside this formula. So if the interest, for instance, is earned semi-annually, that means you're going to get 2 interest payments a year, so we're going to use n equals 2. If interest is compounded monthly, that means you're going to get an interest payment every month, so n would be 12. So the general compounding formula is going to be A is equal to P parentheses 1 plus R over N, and then that whole quantity raised to the exponent of N times T. So in this formula, P is the principal, or the present value, or the initial investment. A is the future value of the account. Little r is the annual interest rate expressed in its decimal form. N is the number of compounding periods per year, and T is the time in years that the money has been in the account. So let's see this formula being used in an example so that we can see what's going on with each one of these variables. So in this example, it says suppose you invest $850 in a CD that has an APR of 12% compounded quarterly. Now a CD, this stands for a certificate of deposit. And it's a type of investment that's maybe offered by banks. And the details of a CD is that you would put your money into this account and you're going to let it sit in there for a specified amount of time until the CD matures, and then you can withdraw your funds. So for this CD, you're going to start by investing $850, and the CDs will be compounded quarterly. So the question is, how much is the CD going to be worth at the end of 3 years? So we're going to go ahead and use this general compounding formula. And maybe let's record all the players over here. So I have A, P, R, N, and T. So A is going to be the future value of the account, which is exactly what we don't know. P is the initial principal, which is $850. Little r is the APR of the account, but expressed as a decimal. N is the number of compoundings in a year, so since this is being compounded quarterly, my value for N would be 4. And then they said, how much is the CD worth at the end of 3 years? So my value for T would be 3. So substituting those numbers into this formula, I would have 850, parentheses, 1 plus 0.12, divided by 4, raised to the power of 4 times 3. Now at this point in time, I'm going to key this whole thing into my calculator, but I would encourage you to maybe go ahead and do that multiplication up there in the exponent. So 4 times 3 is 12. That way, when I key this into my calculator, I won't have to introduce a set of parentheses up there in the exponent. So we're going to key this into our calculator and figure out what the worth of the CD is. All right, so we have 850, parentheses, 1 plus, and then 0.12 divided by 4, close the parentheses, and then this whole parentheses expression I want to raise to the exponent of 4 times 3, or 12. Okay. So the account then at the end of 3 years is going to be, looking at this, $1,211, and rounding to the nearest penny, since this is 5 or bigger, that's going to push that up, which then is going to push that up, so then it would be 90 cents. Okay, so then for the second question, how much interest is earned on the CD? Now at this point in time, we're looking at how much interest overall has accrued on this account. Now for this CD, for the investment, you haven't put any more money into the account other than what your initial investment is. So from the initial investment, which was $850, to what this CD is worth at the end of 3 years, which is $1,211.90, the only thing that's been going on this account over this period of time is that the interest is being accumulated. So how much overall interest was accumulated? Well, let's find the difference between the final amount and then the starting investment. Okay, so we're subtracting that future amount minus that initial principal. And that'll tell us how much interest was earned on the account, which in this case is going to be $361.90.